Hello and welcome to Ask Amanda Now. This is our short 10-minute segment where I can answer one strata question for you. It's often when it's a busy Friday afternoon and I'm on the run. I'm sitting in a park at the moment. My little boy is having a play and he's looking after Barnaby, the puppy. So we'll see how that goes. I've been a little bit mum's taxi today. We are in town in Sydney from our usual country home and catching up with a few friends before school holidays wraps up. So it has been a busy afternoon, but I didn't want to miss popping in and being able to answer one strata question for you. Our question today comes from Gail. Now, this is an excellent question. It's popping up here on the screen, and it's something that I get asked all the time. And I think if you chatted to other strata lawyers, definitely when I chat to my colleagues, this issue is one of the number one problems that plagues our apartment owners. How do you force, says Gail, an owners corporation to repair and maintain the common property if you have a stalling chairperson? Very good question, and one that I get from members inside our online forum, from clients who come to my legal practice looking for guidance. They say, Amanda, we need a repair done. The ceiling is leaking. The tiles in the bathroom are lifting. The balcony is not waterproof, it's leaking to the property below, and the owners corporation won't do anything about it because perhaps it is the strata committee that doesn't want to pay attention to the problem, or it is, as in Gail's case, a particular problem, a particular person on the strata committee, like the chairperson, who may acknowledge the problem and then not do anything about it. And that can be incredibly frustrating, especially if you are suffering from water penetration, if you're having some consequential damage to your contents, to your carpets, to your floors inside. I know many of us down the East Coast have been suffering from heavy rains and flooding, and we're hearing that our apartment residents, in particular in some buildings, are really bearing the brunt of that. So good timing to be asking this question, good timing to be answering this question. And the way that I'm going to start with my answer is this. Where an owners corporation is failing to meet its legal duty to repair and maintain the common property, the first question I suppose to ask is, why is that happening? Where is the difference of opinion, perhaps, when it comes to the repair and maintenance? So is the owners corporation aware that there is a problem? Has the owner or the resident reported the problem to the strata manager or perhaps directly to the strata committee? And is the owners corporation aware that this is a problem, and do they acknowledge that it is something that needs to be fixed? Because some situations that I'm involved in, an owner or a resident will say, I need something fixed. It is common property. It is the responsibility of the owners corporation. And that'll be the roadblock. It is at that point that we have a disagreement. The owners corporation might say, well, no, we don't believe it needs to be fixed. The committee might say, no, we don't believe this part of the property needs to be fixed. We don't think it's a problem and we're just not going to do it. If that is the issue, then it's important for the owner to be able to prove, to be able to show that there is a problem and what that problem is. And that means getting an expert in to give an opinion. So if it's a water leak, if it is a problem with a waterproof membrane, then you need to get someone qualified in, a contractor who has experience in waterproofing. Sometimes that's an engineer, sometimes that's a builder, to come and give an opinion and to explain what the problem is and how it needs to be fixed. And it might be that once the owners corporation has notice, has evidence, has a report that identifies the problem, then they're going to understand that it is indeed an issue and it needs to be fixed, and they're going to pay attention to that and get that process rolling. But the second question that comes up when looking at these issues, or another question that comes up, is where an owners corporation acknowledges that there's a problem. Yes, obviously, there's water coming through the ceiling. There is an issue. It needs to be fixed. But the difference of opinion is how, what the method for that repair is. And that's often where I see some of the most protracted disputes is where there is a disagreement as to the method of repair. The owner's corporation might say, well, it can be done quickly and easily and cheaply by following this particular method that the owner's corporation's expert advises. And the owner might say, well, no, I've got another opinion from another expert that we should be following a different method. And then the argument is not so much about whether something needs to be repaired and whether in fact it's the owner's corporation's responsibility, but how. And sometimes those arguments about how can only ever be resolved by the tribunal, or it ends up at the stage where the tribunal gets involved and the tribunal has to decide whose expert is correct. But what I hope you've heard me say there is the importance of getting that evidence of the problem, the expert's opinion on what the problem is and how it's going to be fixed, and making sure that if the owner's corporation doesn't yet have that material, that you've given it to them, you've given them your expert's report, you've shown them that you've gone to that time, that trouble, and often even that expense of getting that report to show them clearly that there's a problem and that indeed they need to be fixing it. I've said many times here on live, on the podcast, within our membership community, that it is an owner's corporation's strict, absolute legal duty to repair and maintain the common property, and they can't avoid that duty. So in Gail's case, where she has what sounds like a stalling chairperson, it's all taking too long. Maybe there's an acknowledgement there that the common property does need to be fixed. The owner's corporation acknowledges that it's their duty, it's their responsibility to do that, but it's not getting done fast enough. Then Gail, if you're armed with the evidence of the problem, you've got a report from a contractor, I'd suggest starting that process of involving the tribunal. And in New South Wales, that does start with an application for mediation through the Office of Fair Trading. So you can lodge that application fairly easily online and for free. Mediation is a mandatory prerequisite before you file an application in the tribunal seeking orders. So you do have to go through that process. Some exceptions there if it's urgent and if you are suffering some damage to your property, if it is a water leak or something like that, then you can move more quickly without mediation. But generally speaking, mediation first and trying to get the owner's corporation moving, get that chairperson is to quit stalling on the issue. If it is only the chairperson and the one person who is holding up this issue, that's a concern because owners' corporations shouldn't be controlled by one person. I understand that sometimes that happens and sometimes that is the perception. As an owner, you can put a motion before your general meeting, a motion that the committee acts, a motion requiring the owners' corporation to accept its responsibility and to take steps to rectify that area of the common property that's impacting you. So you can escalate the issue, if you like, away from the chair, away from the committee, and to the level of the owners' corporation, so that you can get support from your fellow owners who may not realise that you're going through this problem and that you're experiencing this with this difficulty with your chairperson. So a few ideas, I hope they're for you, Gail, that will help you to navigate that situation, and a flying visit for others who are interested in that legal duty to repair and maintain the common property, and what you might do if you're not able to achieve that through communicating with one person on the committee, communicating just with the committee, and how you might escalate that up to the owners' corporation. That's all I have for you today. That is just under 10 minutes. We've done well of Ask Amanda Now. And thank you for joining me, whether you're catching us live or catching us on the replay. And I'll look forward to catching up with you next time. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.